Hi, this is Siofra's Magic Alcove, and I'm Siofra Bradigan. So today we're going to do a video on the upcoming solar ritual, sometimes known as Lughnasad, named after what might be a solar god or might be a comet god, Lu, in Ireland. Recent information that has come to light has indicated the distinct possibility that Lu is actually not a solar deity, but a comet that came by when his story and worship first began. But, that's for the historians to figure out and so forth. But it is one of the harvest festivals that we have, and it is still, it happens as a series of contests and stuff like that in Ireland to this day, as far as I know. If I'm wrong, you guys can let me know. So it's also called Lammas. So if you don't want to try and figure out how to spell or pronounce Lughnasad, Lammas works quite fine. But in honor of Lu, we actually did an invocation to him as part of our ritual. We usually do this one down on the beach. Because this time of year, fire is considered a dangerous thing to have unless it's in a fire pit in a designated area. And generally speaking, we don't like doing rituals in the middle of a park in particular. So, we try to find a beach that and make sure that we're there at low tide and make our fire pit for that part of it in below the water line, so when the high tide comes in, it makes sure that there's no fire left. And of course, we make sure that fire is out as well before we leave. But just sort of like an extra kind of thing. And we've done a number of these as public rituals, and it's been fun. In the last few years, that's sort of fallen away, but it's been fun. One of the things about this particular ritual is the burning of the god effigy in the sacred fire, and including some bread or grain. We usually use bread inside of the god effigy. And if you're going to do that, you got to make sure you really wrap it well in Reynolds wrap, something that can withstand the heat, or you're going to end up with a lot of charcoal, and it won't be fun to eat. So, before I get started on the ritual we currently do, let's, one of my early public rituals that I did in Santa Cruz when I moved down there on the beach. My daughter was probably 12, maybe 13, something like that. Let's see, she was born in 75, so yeah, somewhere in there, because 85 is when we arrived, when she was 10, so she was probably 12 or 13. And we were living at the communal household I've mentioned in passing here and there, called the Blue Zoo. It was a big blue house, and there were 7 bedrooms and 10 people living in the house at any given time. So I decided I wanted to build my own effigy, right? I'm getting ready to go down to the beach. So I have my daughter go and pick a pine cone, for the god's member. So she comes back with a pine cone that's about yay big. And I'm looking at this pine cone and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to have to make a pretty good sized god to fit this pine cone. So we got all our straw and grasses and stuff together, and the bread, put the bread in the middle, and built this rather large effigy of the god with this very significant pine cone sticking straight up in the air. And her friend from next door went with us, same age as my daughter. And so they were carrying this effigy above their heads with the pine cone straight up as we marched down to the beach in order to burn the god. It was hysterical and people were definitely looking at us sideways a few times. But that's one of the things, is that in the earlier texts of magic, Wicca, Gardnerian, fairy, all that stuff, the idea is that the the god died on the summer solstice. That was like the peak of the god, and as the sunlight starts to fade, the god's power is fading, but not fading like going away. It's fading into the earth and being absorbed by the ground and the grain and everything else. And so when we burn the god's body with the bread inside, the symbolism is basically the bread becomes the body of the god, and we're eating the goodness that the god has put into the earth. So that's the whole notion of that. So depending on how you want to set it up, since it's one of the harvest festivals, a lot of times the place, you can decorate your altar with sheaves of wheat and grain, rock horn. You can put a rock horn god figure on the altar, and corn husks and thread to be made into the little dollies that you can burn during the ritual. We also decided on star-shaped cookies, which we had various levels of success with during the years. I did finally get a cookie cutter so I could make star-shaped cookies. So we do the usual opening kind of stuff, blessing the salt and the water, and doing it together and talking about what's going on and so forth. Cleansing each other, and in some cases we walk sage around the circle, depending on how many people are there. Sometimes I have them come to me, walking around one at a time, coming up to the altar, and we sage them, and then they move on, and then the next person comes, and we do it that way. So the beginning that I found, can't remember where I found it. This is the wake of Lu, the sun king who dies with the waning year, the corn king who dies when the grain is reaped. We stand now between hope and fear in the time of waiting. In the fields, the grain is ripe but not yet harvested. We have worked hard to bring many things to fruition, but the rewards are not yet certain. Now the mother becomes the reaper, the implacable one who feeds on life that new life may grow. Light diminishes, the days shorten, summer passes. We gather to turn the wheel, knowing that to harvest we must sacrifice, and warmth and light must pass into winter. And so I found a little poem for when we started our sacred fire. I thought if we were going to start a sacred fire, it'd be a nice idea to say something to the fire. So this is what we came up with. O ancient ones of days long past, we do ask your presence here among us, for this is a time that is not a time, in a place that is not a place, on a day that is not a day, between the worlds and beyond. The harvest season draws forth, for this is the height of the year. The bounty of this rich season shall sustain us in seasons to come, in spirit, in soul, in body. So we do that, and then Ian, would light the sacred fire. And then, of course, we do the calls, calling in the directions and so forth. And again, I search. I've got all these books that I use. I find things that I like. I throw them all together. I modify things. So this was one I came across that I liked the way it was written. And I've got guardians of the east, spirits of air, come into our circle and witness our right. Hear me now as I request your aid in the cycle of life. As your winds blow through fields of ripened grain, carry loosened seeds upon your back, that they may fall amidst the soil that is our Mother Earth. Hail and welcome. So each one of them is is similar to that. Like for fire, it's hear me now as I request your aid in the cycle of life, as your fire has sparked life within the seeds of grain. Preserve this essence of new life through the winter, that this life may spring forth anew upon the soil that is our Mother Earth. And then for the water, hear me now as I request your aid in the cycle of life. May your gentle waters nourish the hidden life within, and rain down upon the soil in the coming spring, that the seeds may spring forth in abundance and grow tall and strong upon our Mother Earth. And then for the north, hear me now as I request your aid in the cycle of life. May the earth that is our mother accept the seeds of future seasons into her body, that when the time is right, life may spring forth anew and feed all the children of our Mother Earth. Hail and welcome. And, so depending on your tradition and depending on the things that sort of speak to you, that's sort of like an idea of, how we're thinking about the season and asking the elements to assist us. So for myself, since the goddess is becoming more prominent in the cycle at this point, I decided to go with a couple of different invocations about Danu. And there's not that much written about her and not that much information about her as yet, or still, or something. It's kind of hard to come by. So I did a well, let me just read this. It's probably easier. Danu, mother, queen, life giver, your sweetness is the salt kiss where ocean meets land. You are the wellspring of fertility, queen of all she, shining jewel of Ireland. I am enveloped in your mist, your loving embrace, a child come happily home. Great, great Danu of the old ones, you are protectress and guardian, nurturer and wise woman. In all ways are you the eternal mother of our people. Bless and keep your children, and gift us with your light. May we serve you with honor. There is no plant in the ground but is full of your virtue. There is no form in the strand but is full of your blessing. And then the rest of the part of that poem afterwards, I have everybody say to me to help me get into the right frame of mind, because when you're doing that kind of when you're trying to evoke something within you and you're working with a group of people, it's nice to make your statement and then have a period of focused concentration and silence in yourself as you're pulling that energy into you. So this was everyone there would say the following. And Danu, 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 meet it is to praise you. There is no life in the sea, there is no creature in the river. There is not in the firmament, but proclaims your abundance. Danu, 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 meet it is to praise you. There is no bird on the wing, there is no star in the sky. There is nothing beneath the moon, but proclaims your beauty. Danu, 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 meet it is to praise you. And so then at this point, the person who's doing this as the priestess becomes the goddess in her, in essence. And so then it's first person, not talking to the goddess, but talking as the goddess. I am the great mother, mother of earth, mother of the Tuatha De Danann, mother of you. Stop molding the earth to suit you. Mold yourself to suit the earth. Sink your toes into me and feel my pulse. Breathe with me and seek my nourishment. I will feed you, heal you, build you into what you want to be, for you already are my magnificent child. We invoke you. And then the group says she is here. And then I do the words of the star goddess, because I just really like that one. I start at that point. Hear the words of the star goddess. The rest of it is not as on point for me, because it's about history and whatnot. So for the invocation of the god, we did a similar thing, but it's like a call and response. So Ian would say a phrase and everyone would repeat it. So, like, for example, he would say, "All hail the son of summer," and everyone would say, "All hail the son of summer." It just seemed like a good idea to help build the energy up. So I won't read the repeating things. I am the golden one, brightest warmth of the green earth. All hail the son of summer. I am the crown of striving, gem of the heavens, first among lights. All hail the son of summer. I am father of earth, eye of burning, fire of noontide. I am Lu, master of all arts, radiant light. I am he who is the sun. I am he who is the Lord and the light. I strike down the baleful eye of burning. Together with the sun we must also know the rain. So together with joy we must also know pain. I am the life and I am the hope. I am the death and the life anew. Without me there can be nothing. With me you can have all that you desire. And then everyone says, he is here. And then there is like a version of the Star Goddess invocation that's for the god, which we found. And I thought it'd be a good idea. I liked this particular version. There's a bunch of different versions out there. Listen to the words of your God, who of old was called Pan, Hern, Osiris, Hades, and by many other names. I am the fire within your heart, the yearning of your soul. I am the hunter of knowledge and the seeker of the holy quest. I stand in the darkness of light. I am called death. I am the consort and mate of her we adore. Call forth to me. Heed my call, beloved ones. Come to me and learn the secrets of death and peace. I am the corn at harvest and the fruit on the trees. I am he who leads you home. Scourge and flame, blade and blood, these are mine, and I give them to you. Call to me in the wild forest and on bare hilltop, and seek me in the darkness bright, I who have been called Pan, Hern, Osiris, and Hades. Speak to you in your search. Come dance and sing, come live and smile, for this is my worship. You are my children, and I am your father. On swift night wings I lay you at the mother's feet to be reborn and to return again. You who think to seek me know that I am the untamed wind, the fury, storm, and passion in your soul. Seek me with pride and humility, but seek me best with love and strength, for this is my path, and I love not the weak and fearful. Hear my call on long winter nights, and we shall stand together guarding her earth as she sleeps. So, it's like you can really put your own flavor on a ritual depending on which poems, gods, goddesses, and so forth you decide that you want to bring into the mix. This is not a necessity to do it this way, obviously. This is just where we have ended up at this point. It was like an interesting journey because my history with my father was such a destructive and horrific thing. And in the beginning, I could connect to the youthful god, the sensual god. I connect to Pan, Kronos, and so forth. But I really had a hard time connecting to the idea of the father god. It was difficult because my experience of father in this life was less than ideal, to say the least. And so when it happened that I started studying some of the Celtic mythology and ran across the Dagda, he was the first father god that I connected to that felt natural and nurturing and protective and positive. So then by extension other father gods came in to play. So the idea of having that, and also my history with Christianity from childhood, with the Jehovah, and being so much like my actual father as far as it went from what we were being taught in Sunday school. And so it was certainly an interesting transition, and I think that it's not something anyone should force themselves into. If you don't feel connected to a father god, you can do this ritual completely differently. You can just do it as the sun is going away, the food is here for us to eat. You don't have to have the god and the goddess involved in your ritual in any way whatsoever. It all depends on who you are, where you're at, how you feel, what you're going through, what stage of development you're in, and that can change. Me being eclectic, things change a lot. So for this ritual, what we decided on was we made corn dollies. You just like fold the corn over and then tie a ribbon around it to make it into. Some people did very elaborate corn dollies. Some people are extremely creative. So if you have some of those people in your group, have them make their corn dollies ahead of time. It helps to let the thing flow a little bit better or something like that. But the idea is to leave things behind. And so things you want to get rid of. So sometimes you ask questions like, what do you fear? And depending again on how people are feeling in the group. Some people are okay with expressing how they're feeling, like if they're, if it's fear or anxiety or whatever it is that they would, that they want to get rid of, failure, whatever it happens to be. If the people that you're worshiping with or working with are comfortable with that, then that can add to the intensity of a ritual. And so you can encourage them to say those things aloud. But if you have some people in your group that don't feel comfortable with sharing that in a wider group, especially if it's a public ritual, but in any event, anyone who doesn't feel comfortable speaking it aloud should never be shamed or forced into speaking it aloud. It should be clear to everyone that if they want to keep it to themselves, it's okay. But I've been in rituals where people are comfortable with sharing it. And what can happen in that is like whatever word that comes to you, whether it's, like failure or poverty or, whatever it is, you just keep repeating the word over and over again. And then everyone else is repeating their own word. And it sort of builds this hum, I guess. All the words together. You can't hear any single word very well, or you only hear a word come out every so often, and it kind of blends together and becomes this like large body of energy and chant of things that people want to get rid of. So you can do this as a dance around the fire, depending on how much room you have. We always plan to do a dance around the fire, but we never do. So, we're lazy apparently. And dancing around the fire seems like a dangerous thing to do, so we stop. But when a person feels ready to let go of whatever that is, they feel that they've expressed it enough, either internally without speaking or externally with their voice, you throw the doll, because you've charged that doll up with that, and you throw it into the fire and let the sun take it. Let the season destroy it and take it away, so you're not bringing it with you into the fall and winter. So I think this is a chant from one of Starhawk's rituals, probably this one in particular, actually. In this fire may it pass from me and mine, may it pass, may it pass, may it pass on the outflowing tide, and burn with the red sun as the year dies and fades, as everything passes, all fades away. And yeah, that's definitely one of Starhawk's. She has a lot of really nice chants to do. And so everybody says that and thinks about it, and you can keep on repeating as everything fades, as everything passes, all fades away. And you can repeat that until you feel that you're done with repeating that. And then after you do that, then you want to build a cone of power to purify everybody from our fears. So You can do that by making sounds, by movement, by drumming, by singing. It doesn't have to be a wordless cone of power. That's what this says in here, but I think a lot of times we end up singing anyway. And then we pass out the stars. And the stars is the opposite. So you pass out the stars and you say, what do you hope to harvest? And so then there's a new chant that comes out. It's like that bright paper makes my face go black or dark. And so you do that similar kind of thing except with the star. And then somebody, when it's over, after the energy is raised and you earth the power, you have designated a person to hold up the star. And you say, may the star of hope be in us always, and then everyone eats the star. And in this case, we have Ian as the god of the harvest kind of thing, saying, behold the grain of life. Well, actually, never mind. This is with the god. We haven't burned him yet, apparently. So Ian picks up the god and says, behold the grain of life, and carries the god around the circle, and each person breaks off a piece and eats it. So I guess in this version we didn't burn God, we just baked the god. So if you're doing the version where you burn the god, you would throw the effigy of the god into the fire and think about the fact that everything is fading. And sometimes we've had flowers. We bring flowers to an event like this, and you throw them into the fire as well, and see how the heat of the sun fades and destroys the flowers, the beauty of spring. And it's just sort of another message to your unconscious. So then we just sort of like say thank you to the god, say things like the powers of life and death are held by the gods, great is the power of the mighty ones, God is old yet young, and the power is his. And then we say goodbye to the goddess, and blessed be, may the surplus be drawn from the land, and so forth. Do this way, so I stop making the camera freak it out, because one of our lights was falling, so I decided not to turn one on. Yeah, so the thing to think about with any ritual that you're planning is that there's a structure. If you're going to do a full-on ritual, you've got a beginning structure and an end structure and a middle structure, and then you've got all the room in the center of it for creativity and for variety and for individual expression with singing, dancing, drumming, chanting, whatever your group is into and whatever moves you. Whether it's screaming at the top of your lungs or whispering into the wind. And then, of course, after you thank the god and the goddess and they go, you dismiss the elements and let them go. And so that's your basic thing. And we used to do the cup of friendship at the beginning, because that was in, I guess, the Big Blue Book, Saxon Wicca, Buckland's book, is where we got that idea. But then we decided we really liked doing it at the end, because that's when you eat and drink anyway. And so then we charge up the juice that's been sitting on the altar throughout the ritual and bless it. And then again, either have people come to us so we can pour the juice into their cups. And we have for a long time decided everyone needed to have their own individual cups. It's kind of a long-standing tradition that there is a shared cup and everyone passes the cup, not the juice. So you're passing the cup from person to person, but with new awareness and understanding about contagious diseases and, everyone's immune system being different, I always thought it was a better idea to have your own individual cup. So usually when we plan like a big ritual for public, we tell everyone to bring their own cup. Or at least we have, if we have to use paper cups, we write people's names on them so they can find them. So they're not abusing paper cups to huge extent. And so we charge up the bottle of juice, or the container of juice, and then pour that charged drink. So it's still a shared drink, it's just that we share it in individual cups, but it's the same drink. So that's sort of the basic outline of doing a ritual for this time of year. And I think it's usually August 1st or 2nd, depending on what tradition you're following. It could even vary another day or so around there, I'm not sure. Sometimes when it comes to witchcraft, it's whenever your group can get together, not necessarily when the event itself happens. And what's really important is just recognizing the change that's going on in the world. So I guess this is, of course, for the people who are in the Northern Hemisphere. In the Southern Hemisphere, this time of year would be Bridget's Day Fire Festival. Because because the summer solstice was the winter solstice, so the next one would be a fire festival, Bridget's Day. Name's not coming to me at the moment, but I'm sure you can look it up. So, I think this is actually the 8th video on the time of year kind of activities. So, so we should have videos available for you to look at for the other times of year. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, to give you ideas of what you might want to do. Because it's all about the procession of the seasons and the changing in the world around you. It's about the changing of the light and the changing of abundance or the scarcity, depending on what time of year you're in. And that's what it's about, kind of attuning your mind and your body and your spirit to where you live and what's happening in the earth around you. So, I don't know if I've told you this or not, but I think the same year that we did the procession of the large god down to the beach, maybe the year following that, a movie came out called The Sorceress and the Friar. It's a French film, true story, awesome film, highly recommend it. If you can get it in the original French with subtitles, it's actually not difficult to watch. They actually have done an English dub version of it that is the most amazing dub version of a film I've ever seen, because you can't even tell that they're not speaking English in that version. But it's a true story that they found in a friar's diary, and the sorceress was a healer woman who lived in the woods. And anyway, it came to town. We were going to watch it. So it was me, my daughter, my boyfriend at the time, and his brother. And the guys were in the front seat, we were in the back, I think. And my daughter has got a very quirky sense of humor. And, we're going to see this movie that's got a very strange name, The Sorceress and the Friar, and his brother's already kind of inclined to think we're insane, and up to no good. So my daughter tells him that she's really looking forward to being the human sacrifice at the upcoming ritual. It might have been for summer solstice, because, it was really hard to find virgins nowadays, and it was quite an honor for her to be preparing to be the ritual sacrifice. And I think he was drunk and he believed her. It was like kind of a surprise, to say the least. And I was just like, great, you are a card. And we went and saw the movie. I don't know what he thought, but he definitely thought we were crazy. I loved the movie. I thought it was wonderful. And I have to say, it's the first movie about the burning times where the witch who was accused, the woman who was accused of being a witch, doesn't actually end up being burned at the stake. They find a way out of it. There's just all sorts of marvelous things in it. It's like there's a lot of foreign film, the way they do it, that I appreciate much more than some of the stuff that, you know, my country produces. So it's great. If you can find it, I recommend it's a watch. It's a much better magical story, being historically accurate and being about real issues of the time, and being a first-hand account of this individual's first intense desire to find someone to blame for everything in the world and kill it, and then his realization of his own stupidity and trying to figure a way out of it. And it's very surprising in a lot of ways. So I guess that's it for this video, and I hope you guys are having a great time. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday, and we can talk more about the live circle of healing that we did last week, and see what we come up with next, or, you know, what we want to do and what questions may come up about that. So everybody have a wonderful couple of days before I see you next. So this is Siofra Bradigan, and this has been Siofra's Magic Alcove. Blessed be.